Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gorecom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, happy to have him back, Todd Shapiro. He's CEO of Red Light Holland, trades on the CSC under the stock symbol TRIP. TRIP, for those who are new to the story, and it's going to be a lot of you because TRIP has caught fire. It's been the number one in its sector. It's been the number one gainer. Todd's going to give you some of the stats there. But Red Light Holland is a psychedelics company that produces and sells recreational grade psychedelic magic truffles to the current legal adult use market in the Netherlands. More than just lip service, they pre-sold the first batch of approximately 100,000 grams of magic truffles, and they had such great success. They're 10xing that into the second crop of 1 million grams. That's what we're here to talk about, plus the business. Todd, welcome back, man.
George, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. And yeah, listen, it's really exciting times for the company, Red Light Holland. We're working very, very hard here. And of course, it's really interesting to get a lot of notice from new shareholders, a lot of emails, a lot of great social media interaction. It's been really quite an interesting, few weeks.
Well, it seems like the market has finally caught up to the fact that psychedelics are going to go through what I think is going to be a parabolic rise next 10 years. I think they're almost going to be unstoppable. And you guys are leading the way. You had some great stats. We'll talk about the business, but you had some great stats on your market appreciation within the sector. I don't know if you want to share those or not, but you guys are leading the way right now.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it was interesting. Someone had pointed out to me on Twitter, actually, that, and this was as of the close on the 21st of market, that in the psychedelic sector, Red Light Holland, I guess it had increased since November 27th. It had gone up as of yesterday, as of close on the 21st, I believe, it had gone up 145%, which is pretty wild. And then if you were to look at literally every other psychedelic company as of those dates, we were the most. Others were at 141%. As you said, the sector was on fire. Some were 134. Others were, around the 114 mark, and then, a bunch just under 100. And listen, it's really interesting to watch. Of course, we as a company, George, would never make price projections and always do your due diligence when it comes to looking at our stock and speak to your financial advisors, et cetera, et cetera. But what I can tell you is, as a team on the business side of things, we're just putting our head down and working, man. And that's what we're really proud of, as I sort of said earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's an understatement. I think you're being a little too humble to say we're just working. Working as guys who are trying to grind it out. You've already sold your first 100,000 grams. Let's talk about that. How did you manage to pre-sell that first 100,000 grams? And did the second batch come from the fact that clearly there's demand for more?
Yeah, it's a great question, George. So essentially, we got into growing our first batch, and we're new to it, as you know. So you start small to make sure you can perfect it.
Of course.
And you source the substrates, you go and you do the grow and you harvest them. I don't have the exact numbers if it was actually 100,000 grams at this point. That's always an expected growth. And I think a lot of people, for clarity purposes, I always forget, I just assume people know what magic truffles are. I assume they know how to grow them. And I think a lot of people compare them to cannabis and cannabis plants. But ultimately, I think the most important thing for people to know is when you're growing magic truffles, you actually grow them in inoculated, airtight, sealed bags. They're sort of recreating that underground environment, and they're making sure that it would never get to a magic mushroom stage. They only stay within the form of the magic truffles, the way I can legally sell them in the Netherlands. So the reason why sometimes you can say expected growth of 100,000 grams and not necessarily know what the actual growth is because until you kind of crack open those bags, wash off the grains, pull the truffles off, and then package them, it's, you could have more, you could have less. But what I can tell you is we definitely got into a definitive agreement with a wholesale company that would then be able to disperse the truffles. Said, you know what, we're now experienced growers. We're now experienced at harvesting. Hans Derricks and our team in Horst, the Netherlands, has done an amazing job in our facility. And we said, hey, by mid 2021, if unless we start getting going now, we can't have more product here. So let's get going immediately. And yeah, we're at that point now where we're doing another expected 1 million grams of magic truffles. And this is really exciting. And those could be used for internal testing, for, obviously our microdose packs that are selling in smart shops right now and online, and as well for wholesale purposes. So there's a lot of different opportunities that we're discovering and very, very excited to be a part of.
Devil's advocate, a 10x jump that's something you guys feel pretty comfortable you can handle, because no matter what, 10x is 10x, right? But so I have to ask, as a devil's advocate, how confident are you guys that you guys can deliver on that batch, give or take, like you said, from what you said earlier, given whatever yield you finally get out of it, but that's the target. How comfortable do you guys feel with that?
Yeah, we are comfortable. And listen, there's risks in anything you do in business trying to predict the market for it,
Sure.
right? But for us, we are predicting springtime, summertime, maybe more people out again, hopefully the end of COVID, more vaccinations coming, hopefully tourism opens up, so a market that could open up a little bit here. That's like one of our big, hopes. And that's, I think, everybody's hope. Let's be honest, in any business you're in right now. But if you were to look at the trends and the markets and the predictability of what we saw with COVID the first go around, things did open up in the spring and summer. The other thing that I think is really important to note, and when you're harvesting magic truffles, you actually don't have to do the entire crop immediately, meaning there's stages. Once they hit their growth point, you can actually wait 6 to 8 weeks to be able to then package them and distribute them, where they have a shelf life of another 3 months. So it's not like you have to go with the whole kit and caboodle right away. You can actually slowly take your time to put those into the market, whether it's through wholesale, whether it's through our own microdose products, or whether it's even through some more internal testing and stuff. So we feel that, yes, there will be a need for the 1,000,000 grams.
You kind of touched on it earlier. So, because I want to ask you, where's the demand coming from? Which begs the question first, why would George use magic truffles? And then let's move to the demand side, because there is competition. So the fact that you have a break down the door is impressive. But why would George be using magic truffles?
Yeah, George, and listen, I can't make medical claims, and I've spoken to you about this in the past, right? But what we're seeing right now is a lot of attention being put on the psychedelic sector, and specifically, I would say the one that's really most talked about, that's really most accessible, would be psilocybin.
Sure.
So, and that's the active ingredient, the active psychoactive ingredient within the magic truffle, much like the magic mushrooms. And, we just saw on CNN with Lisa Ling, they did a big special on psychedelics.
That was
one of the
something,
patients,
wasn't it?
it was really something. And what really struck me as being, like gave me goosebumps was the individual Alan, who was working with his own magic mushrooms to help him with ailments of cancer and getting along with anxiety and all this kind of stuff. So anecdotally, you keep hearing story after story after story of people using psilocybin in natural ways, much like, by the way, the Canadian government has set a precedent. Okay, the Canadian government, this is very important here. They have set a precedent for compassionate grounds and terminally ill patients to have access to magic mushrooms. They've also now,
you just taught us something new.
So yeah, there are patients now who are allowed to use magic mushrooms in Canada. I think there's about now about 10 who are. There might even be more. I'm not quite sure the exact number, but this is announcements in the last couple of months that legally, because sadly they're terminally ill and they have anxiety towards end of life, are allowed to use magic mushrooms to help them. And of course, we applaud the government for doing that. We're so happy for these individuals. But I think the precedent that's set is an important one to follow. Is they've allowed access now. They've allowed access for this and for trauma. So they're almost, without the studies behind them, sort of saying, we believe this works. That's what I'm getting out of it. And us as a company at Red Light Holland, who can't make any medical claims, but the claim we can make is we're the people's company, George. We want to be able to provide adults responsible access and responsible use for magic truffles and eventually maybe magic mushrooms. We're not about the synthetics right now. We're about the natural substance that is given to us. And why can't responsible adults make a decision for themselves, like the governments now are sort of starting to allow for those who clearly have asked for it and clearly think they need it?
Well, I can tell you, I'm not sure if you saw me respond to your tweet yesterday, I think, but anecdotally, I've got 2 clients who in the last 3 months have told me. One of them is microdosing at a clinic in Toronto. He said he's made fantastic progress on, is ecstatic with it. And another client said his mother, who suffered from years of anxiety, uncontrollable anxiety, is microdosing with psilocybin as well. And it's had a dramatic effect on her life. So clearly, you're right. No one's making a medical claim, but we got some pretty smart people out there who are trying this. And I'm not sure if this triggered for you, but if you remember, cannabis really started to take off in terms of public acceptance when Sanjay Gupta did his special, I don't know, 5 years ago, because he was adamant against cannabis. And then he saw the effects on epilepsy, that little girl who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, I believe, or last year. But that opened the door to everybody thinking, hey, if Sanjay Gupta is saying that there's great benefit here, and now you had CNN doing it again with psychedelics, do you think that's a bit of a mass media turning point? That's a mass populist turning point there in the perception of psychedelics?
I do think it's one of the turning points for sure. And you're seeing articles daily come up. And I think most importantly, what you're seeing also is at least people having open conversations at dinner tables, perhaps over the holiday season. We're trying to end a stigma here. And there's two ways to end a stigma. There's, obviously, we support the medical and scientific research. I think it's amazing what's going on into the FDA breakthrough therapy and some of those bigger companies that want to prove out medications through synthetics. But I think the important thing to note, the second thing, is the fact that there is still a natural substance here. And there's a natural substance that is being used by people naturally and talking about these benefits. So, at what point do we go, well, big pharma companies really haven't provided solutions in all aspects when it comes to mental health? Let's be honest about that. We all know that's a true statement. So are there maybe natural substances to explore rather than the synthetics, or perhaps is there a mixture of both? And I think as a company, we support the science, we support the medical research, as I said, but we are big believers of the natural substance itself in the magic truffle and the psychoactive ingredient of psilocybin in small dosages for eye microdosing. And again, while there isn't a ton of clinical trials out there right now, what we're trying to do as a company responsibly, and this is stuff we've touched on in our last interview, George, is we've created a virtual reality headset that is currently being shipped to the Netherlands that will be in these smart shops. You put it on, it's going to give you a 4-minute educational video and 3D immersive effects. Like, there's no way of describing this, and there's no way of showing it on Twitter or my posts or anything.
Yeah, I asked you that last time. Is there any way for us to kind of go inside that? But you can't.
We got it. Really. Well, I mean, if COVID wasn't here, I'd be coming and popping by your place and I'd show it to you, and you would be able to see, like, what company is this responsible to show potential consumers, A, of the potential benefits, B, of the origins and the education, and C, at least feeling comfortable if you like this feeling of a microdose. And if not, don't buy our product. We're trying to be so responsible as a company. And since then, George, we've announced
continuing hard on anybody, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we're trying to be even more self-regulatory, as we've announced, continuing this process with Radix Motion, who developed the virtual reality, to have augmented reality, so you can actually learn more when you point your phone and have this sort of app that will, point it maybe at our logo. More information will come out, content will come out, and then we're creating a digital care program that if users opt in, they can share their data with us, and even if they don't opt in, we can use that data for their purposes, but never share it with anybody else. So it could potentially even be a live clinical trial with a digital care program that we're creating with ultimate users of the iMicrodose pack. So we're really trying to understand, because again, I can't make the medical claims. I can tell you my anecdotal claims, but we want to hear from you, our consumers and potential consumers in other markets at some point, about the effects it's having on yourself.
And further to your point, it is a natural substance at the end of the day. So it can't really hurt anybody unless you overdo it. Just like anything in the world, though. If I eat 100 potatoes today, I'm going to get really sick at the end of the day. But it is a natural product, so there isn't a lot of downside to it, correct?
I'll be careful about what the contraindications are, and there are some. You don't want to mix with other medications if you're suffering from bipolar disorder. There definitely are contraindications that everyone should read up on, and that's one thing we encourage people to do with our iMicrodose packs. We have a leaflet inside to speak of these contraindications, and to also make sure you consult a doctor. You don't just go and use this stuff on a whim, not a chance. But what I can tell you is there are studies going on right now that's saying psilocybin actually doesn't have addictive qualities to it, and that there are actually studies going on right now saying psilocybin is being used to help people wean off harder drugs like heroin and opioids and stuff. So it's really, like, I just always tell people,
hopefully,
and go and inform yourselves. And the other thing is, if you start to compare drugs, I think it's a little dangerous. But the weird thing is, to me, is, you think of alcohol, and by the way, I have a couple glasses of wine pretty much every night of my life, but alcohol is one of the biggest killers out there. The World Health Organization talks about how it's contributed up to 3 million worldwide deaths a year. And for us to sort of just go, well, there's a stigma with psilocybin, but yet alcohol's so accepted. I mean, when you start to do the comparatives, I don't think anyone in their right mind would ever say, well, psilocybin is contributing up to 3 million. Not even close. So, this is why people have to go and do research. And we're going to learn more about this research over the coming months. And more people are talking about psychedelics. And there's a reason for it, because people ultimately, from medical researchers to scientists to just believers and passionate individuals like myself who can anecdotally speak to this, believe there is a chance for proving out positive potential change here. And that's the most important
that's
thing.
why I'm excited about the future of Red Light Holland, because I don't think it's as much a stigma as much as it is an information gap, an education gap that just needs time to be filled. Because I'm hearing the conversations. I've been around tables with friends, and I've been around the tables with family, and everybody, mental health is an issue in every circle. We know this, and I've heard the conversation from people who saying, hey, have you looked into psychedelics? You should think about psychedelics. You should talk to your doctor. You should go to a clinic about psychedelics. So what excites me about the future of the company is the conversation's starting to happen, and I don't hear any negative connotations. All I hear is, I just need to find out more. I need to speak to a professional. I need to get a little more educated. But I think people want solutions. They're open to it. Mental health is only getting worse. So whatever the big pharma companies are doing, it's not working that well. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them. Maybe they're mitigating it, but it just seems like things are getting worse. And then yesterday in British Columbia, I think they announced yesterday that they're having record number overdose deaths for the year, that they're gonna hit an unimaginable record. So there's no doubt that the future looks bright for Red Light and its products.
Well, George, I left a pretty good gig and made this big pivot in my life when I used to work in media, and then pivoted to be the CEO of Red Light Holland, do my first raise, et cetera. Got a second raise as we started trading. We're pretty good, strong cash position right now. We're very happy with our tight burn rate, all this kind of stuff. But I made the pivot because I wanted to make a difference, because I heard about all the anxiety going on, all the depression going on. I spoke to artists all day long on a radio show, creative types, musicians, comedians, actors. And ultimately, when you get in long form, real conversations with people, you realize there's a lot of darkness there. And I don't know if I can, again, I can't make the medical claims to help the darkness, but I can do a deep dive and figure out that, too many people are talking about this in positive ways, that at least let's be a company here that can try to make this difference. And that's my mission. This is my mission here.
It's a great mission, man. It's a great mission, because the world needs the help, man.
Dude, you mentioned it. Mental health crisis, so tragically and sadly, and COVID-19 has compounded to this big time, is on the rise. And if we don't look for ways to make a difference now, it could be too late. And we don't want it to be too late, because every single day counts. And we're very proud as a company to be very open about our products, to help end the stigma. And listen, I got an email, for example, from a lady in Switzerland the other day. She goes, can you get your product in the Netherlands to Switzerland? And I said, sadly, I can't. She said, please, you need to. When the borders were opened up before COVID, my son went to the Netherlands. This is a factual email, okay? And he tried your product, the microdose product powered by Red Light Holland. And she said, this isn't me saying it, that it helped his OCD and helped his happiness. And this is an email I have that I would always back up. I'm not, sitting here just pontificating.
No,
I said,
there's no doubt about that, Todd.
And I just said, I'm sorry, I can't get you the product. And she goes, well, I got to get my son back there because I've never seen him in a better place. These are the little stories. I get a firefighter emailing me saying, I haven't used your product, but I'm not going to lie, I've ordered it illegally online in Canada because people are buying magic mushrooms, microdosing them online that are illegal. And he goes, what it does for me is amazing. And then, I had another creative type talk that, I'm getting all these people of their story, sharing them to me. And I got to tell you, like, more than anything, this is what makes me happy. Like, to know that people are actually sharing their stories, and of stories of success, like we saw with that individual Alan on CNN. So I think the conversation's really only getting started, and we're really, really proud to be a part of these sort of pioneering process as a publicly traded company. And I know there were advocates and pioneers long, long before Todd Shapiro and Red Light Holland. But guess what? We took a chance here to help, bring it to the forefront by having regulatory bodies look at what we're doing very carefully, by having, obviously proper continuous disclosure, MD&A analysis, corporate governance. We think we've been a part of helping regulate and bring attention to what people need to find out about beyond the advocates, who I admire greatly, but I think that we should be proud as a company as well to have taken it to the next step.
Now, further to that, let's talk about the business side then, while you're trying to get all that done. And I think you're going to get it done. I think it's only a matter of time. But in the meantime, shareholders are watching, are saying, first of all, love the mission, love the anecdotal information, love the fact that, look, CNN didn't just do a one-off interview with one guy who might, so they obviously know something is there. And that was probably just the example to open up the rest of the door. So everyone knows that you're definitely in the right place at the right time. Let's talk about the business. Until you wait for legislation in different countries and all these things to happen, how do you see the business continue to be viable and grow? Because you are in a bit of a tight box. So how do you continue to grow the business and make sure it's viable and continue to succeed for everybody?
Sure. So starting off in the Netherlands has been great for us because it's really, we've got our footprint now. We're growing, we're expanding our growing, we're distributing, we're hopefully expanding our distributing. And as you know, we've announced being in a non-binding agreement with a wholesale company there that we're doing the due diligence on, obviously looking to get into a definitive. Of course, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. We have to hire Dutch counsel, et cetera, to, pursue that to the next step. But that would help within the Netherlands, distribution, growing, et cetera. This is the goal, the ultimate plan there. Then you can look to what we've done now in Oregon. So we've signed a non-binding agreement with Kieran Sidhu and Halo Labs. Halo Labs is a cannabis company first that started and was founded out of Oregon. I would only assume that they're very connected to the regulatory framework and understanding what that took for cannabis to become legal and the next steps, and following their laws very carefully on how to make that a very viable business. For us, the reason why we partnered with Halo Labs is because right now Measure 109 is currently being written as we're speaking, and it'll take a couple of years to get that regulatory framework into place to see how psilocybin specifically is being allowed to be grown and distributed within Oregon. So perhaps it will be more of a medical based. It might be prescribed. We think the microdose pack works well for a prescription, to be honest. If you think about it, it's a natural product. It's natural. It's about controlled dosages. Think of it as taking a Tylenol almost. It's controlled dosages. There's leaflets in there. There's contraindications in there. We set it up to look like a medical product, in fact. So there's Measure 109 that we're following very closely with, and looking obviously to get into that definitive with Halo Labs to take that as a joint venture to a next step. Then there's Brazil. We had a very big announcement with Brazil just about a week ago. Brazil is a population of 200 million people, and I believe about 75% of that would call it 19 plus. So, and by the way, statistics show, and I don't have them in front of me, but that the anxiety and depression rates in Brazil are at an all-time high. And I can cite those a little later if anyone has to ask me. I'm not just pulling that out of my...
Man, you wouldn't think that, right? We always have this image of Brazilians as being people having fun on playing soccer, on the beach, dancing. You wouldn't think that, but that just further proves the point that what we see on the outside is not what's actually happening on the inside of people.
There's a lot of toughness happening on the inside of people. And, we're working with a company called Disruptive Pharma, again, in a non-binding, but it takes time to get these things through. Right now, our next steps, obviously, will be looking for clear-cut legal opinions on the market in Brazil, because right now people say you can do psilocybin. We have to make sure it's a publicly traded company that is clearly defined, not just what people say. But we are working with a very established company that are partners in two different websites. One is called Mundi, MUNDI health.com, and the other is called mypharmatogo.com, which is a medical and supplement distribution company within Brazil, the MyPharma2Go. So how can we work with Disruptive Pharma and their property MyPharma2Go to potentially get microdose packs distributed to patients and or people who want to buy it? So this is the stuff we're working around right now. We've made that very clear in the announcement that, obviously this is not material information in any way. This is what the next steps that we're looking to, hopefully goes on. So,
but there's a natural inference there,
Brazil,
right?
Well, listen, that's a big market.
Sorry, I was going to say there's a natural inference there. The fact that you've got potential partners in Oregon, you've got potential partners in Brazil. I mean, you've obviously built a great reputation, and people are willing. And they said they're non-binding. You're moving forward, but that's just, as a shareholder, that's a great indication of the company's awareness and respect in these circles around the world.
Listen, George, we are looking to continually be where we can be. That is the mission of this company. So you start small, you learn the market. It's almost like our beta study. You don't make the same mistakes that cannabis companies made, which is try to expand way too quick, trying to predict the market that they thought they knew, understanding their demographics, understanding who was going to buy their product while dealing with obviously an illicit market to, help really, make it more difficult to really produce revenues and sales. Whereas us as a company, you go a little bit slower, test out the Netherlands, and carefully go into the markets where you can go into. I've given this analogy before, which is interesting, which is like Red Bull. Red Bull was its own new category. It was like this energy drink supplement category that no one had ever heard of. And
Right.
how did they create now, there's a huge category, a huge sector of energy drinks now. But how does Red Bull, remain dominant? Well, they created a lifestyle around it too. So as we look to go to these markets, potentially Oregon, potentially Brazil, and I think potentially others, obviously, as we start to go and explore what the rules and regulations and legal framework allows us to do, we will create a brand around us, an I microdose lifestyle. This is what I'm doing, I think, really incredibly well. I'm very proud of our team. We got Russell Peters on board, a world famous comedian who's using his social media to highlight Red Light Holland and what we're doing. We have a very famous really influencer who's our brand clothing ambassador. We're getting her to help sell clothing, even these hats, these shirts. It's all alternative revenue streams, and I think all companies should always be responsible to their shareholders to think of extra ways for the company, obviously, to bring in money. Her name is Chloe. You can go and follow her. She's really wonderful at getting the red light lifestyle word out there. And then we've also hired as our head of design, and this to me is the most amazing thing, to be honest. He's Time Magazine's a structural designer of the Americas, the biggest structural designer. He's a massive designer. His name's Karim Rashid, and Karim has been working closely with us to help design this wisdom truffle. And it gets a little hard to explain what a wisdom truffle is, but it is a character, think of a mascot, that lives within our virtual reality headset that Karim, as a structural designer, is going to bring to life. We're going to make that as sort of a companion figure that will also have augmented reality in it, meaning you would point your phone at it and the wisdom truffle would give you positive messages to go live in the moment, because that's what we stand for. And that's what you hear most about psilocybin, what it can do for people. Where in my case, it separated my anxieties, it separated my fears, didn't dissipate them. They were still there, George. They just parked them on a shelf and allowed me to live in the moment when I was microdosing my own product in the Netherlands, especially when I had some big press to do, and focus. And the wisdom truffle will remind people to live in that moment. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of KAWS, KAWS, or even Elf on the Shelves, these type of companion figures that have huge revenue streams with a guy like Karim Rashid. Who knows what that could do to maybe lead to great potential other revenues here.
You got to build the brand.
We're building a brand.
You got to build a connection if you want to be a global success. And very few people in the small cap world understand that. Obviously, big companies do. Apple, broke through back in the 80s with that famous video of the lady throwing the hammer, smashing the glass, right?
Yeah.
And people who create Red Bull, by the way, I've actually cited on the Agoracom blog as an example of how you build a feeling and an emotion and a connection around a brand. And that's why Red Bull is so strong. It's not just here's a drink, buy it. It's at a bar, buy it. It's in a grocery store, buy it. People relate to it personally inside. And the fact that you get that, Todd, and the fact that you're telling us about that now excites me even more about where the company could be in the next 3, 4, 5 years, because that's how you build a global brand. And very few people are doing it. So watching you guys, unveil this slowly is really powerful stuff, man. That's what moves. That's what moves product.
George, I've said this before. I'm not in academia. I'm not a scientist. I'm not even from the cannabis community. These are quotes I've said before. But what I am is from the people industry. I understand people. I understand people very well. I had a very top rated radio show for years, and another great one, and dealt with a lot of great celebrities and managed YouTube stars and all this kind of stuff. I've seen feedback. I've seen things go viral. And if you don't create a community and create this feeling of friendship and of genuine, authentic messages, you can't connect. And that's what our brand, we'd like to think, is doing. And by the way, not only are we so like really there for the people, and to the point where I don't even really see my wife and kids, because I've encouraged them to call me and text me and message me that, it is a lot of replies. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm grateful for it. So I'll do it as much as I can, but we listen to them. And you know what? A lot of folks who were supporting our company didn't love this logo. They just thought it wasn't maybe as rich as it could be for the brand we're creating. So we created, and we've announced this, a Red Light Holland redesign logo contest, so we can give back to individuals. And Russell Peters is going to be on the committee, and Chloe is going to be on the committee, and I'll jump on the committee, and we're going to pick 3 winners to be a part of this committee to help us redesign a logo for the company. And by the way, the 3 winners that win, and all they have to do is go to social media and tag at Red Light Holland and put $Trip or $Truff within their different social media platforms, is give us a reason why you want to be a part of this committee. And we're getting a ton of great reasons already, and a ton of people actually trying to redesign the logo.
What's the response been like to that?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Well, the funny thing is we didn't even ask people to redesign the logo. It was just be a part of the committee to redesign the logo. But we're getting great entrants of people already with great ideas of what it should look like and what Red Light Holland stands for and the branding of it. We're so appreciated. But when we choose the 3 winners who enter, they'll basically, the ones that give us the best reason why, they'll win $5,000 each. We want to reward them for their hard work. And by the way, a lot of people sadly don't have as much disposable income as they once had because work's been tougher. So it's another way of the company giving back. We're not just going to take your input for free. We're going to give back to you at this time. So we're looking forward to announcing the 3 lucky winners. The contest ends on the 31st. And I believe we said we were announcing the winners on the 7th. I don't know for a fact on January, but I apologize for not knowing that, but we'll announce them soon after.
Well, more than enough time. If you're at home, I mean, I have no graphic design skills of any kind.
No, you don't. You don't even have to design the logo. You just got to give us a reason on social media why you think you should be a part of the committee. Like one.
Oh, got it. Okay. I thought there's actually submitting them. My bad.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this person's a front runner yet, but one person that stands out, he said, I want to be a part of the red light committee because I'm so used to seeing red lights go off. And he just had a picture of him shooting a hockey puck and scoring goals with the red light icons and emojis.
That's great thinking.
And I thought it was like a really good creative way. So, again, we have to go through all of them carefully, but that's just the one that sticks out of my mind right now.
Todd, look, this has been amazing to hear that you guys are hitting on all cylinders. The first of all, the initial run of 100,000 grams pre-sold. Now you're going to your second crop, 1 million grams, expanding with, slowly but surely into other parts of the world. Branding, that was kind of new. I mean, I knew about the logo, obviously, but hearing how far you guys are going on the branding side, understanding that excites me. I mean, all cylinders are firing for you. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that psychedelics, that we don't know the exact time frame, but it's going into a parabolic shift over this next decade. People want it. I think people want it. Governments are going to be looking for solutions, and it's only a matter of time until that all comes together. And then boom, people are going to wonder, why wasn't I investor in Red Light Holland all this time? Right. So congratulations on what you've accomplished this year, and great to see the stock finally get its due notice and due acknowledgement from the marketplace.
Well, listen, we're just grateful for all the support we get from people. We'll never make price projections. Obviously, clearly, you look at the volume and the daily volume, and you look at, some people are sort of questioning, is Red Light Holland undervalued to their peers? So I think people are starting to kind of do those comparisons. And what I can tell you most importantly, I think, is on our end, we're working really hard, and we're working hard. We're thinking outside of the box. We're creating alternative revenue streams. We're looking to expand to markets that have bigger populations than the Netherlands right now, and some smaller ones. We're looking to get into the psychological guidance, a therapeutic sort of approach too, with this non-binding with psychedelic insights in the Netherlands. So there's a lot going on. We're looking forward to 2021 for sure, and most importantly, we just want to make sure that people are doing well. And if we can somehow be a part of this positive change for Red Light Holland, I mean, then beyond beyond all of it, I think, we're a human company, and we want, people to be doing well. And that's what we support here.
And that's a great thing about the company also. That's it's double bonus for shareholders. On the one hand, you get a chance to grow. You get, like Todd says, we're not telling you, get a chance to grow with a great company, potentially inside of a great industry. At the same time, if Todd and the team pull it off, they're literally going to be helping tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and some point millions of people around the world. So, it doesn't get better as a value proposition, man. I wish we could keep on talking, but I'm sure we're going to have you back on the
One
new year.
last reminder, if you're looking for Christmas gifts or any sort of gifts over the holiday season, go to imicrodose.ca. We ship to America. We ship in Canada. You can get a lot of the Red Light Holland merch. And if you're in the Netherlands for some reason listening to this, or people in the Netherlands who are 18 plus, they can go to imicrodose.nl, and that's where they can buy our iMicrodose packs. Now, again, we're not just talkers about things and faces on a deck. We are people who are putting things into action and delivering. So there are products on market right now. I don't know if it's a fact, but I think we're the only publicly traded company in the world that sells microdose packs. So, with psilocybin in them. So go check out imicrodose.nl if you're in the Netherlands, and imicrodose.ca for America or Canada if you want to support some of this merch. And we're just so grateful for the support. And if you want to reach out, please do. I'm at I am Toddy Tickles. It's an old radio name. Don't hate me for it. On all my social media channels, I will.
But it's well known. Why would you ever give it up?
Listen, it's a well-known thing, Although I was thinking of changing it to I am Toddy Truffles, so I might have to change it. But so thank you, George, for your time. We really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a really, really great holiday season, and try to live in the moment with your family. That's really. I'm going to do my best to do it too, I hope.
And likewise to you, Todd. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody. Whatever you're celebrating, really celebrate it well and be in the moment. And Todd, great message, man. This has been powerful. Thanks for being here. I mean, just love the message.
George. Thank you for the help, my friend. Okay.
For everyone at home, you've been watching, or you've been listening, or if you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Todd Shapiro, CEO of Red Light Holland, trades on the CSC under the stock symbol TRIP, and for our friends in the US under TRUFF. So it's available to you as well. A lot of great information here. Start your due diligence, because I've told you where I think psychedelics is going, and Todd has told you where the company is going, and this intersection is going to take place. We don't know when, but when it happens, to me, it's going to be explosive. And I'm not talking about stock price. I'm talking about just business, things happening. We saw what happened to cannabis, and I have no doubt that psychedelics is probably going to go along the same path in terms of consumer acceptance. You want to get ahead of it, do due diligence. Don't say we didn't tell you so. Have a great day. See you next time.